Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 12th of February, now it's 8:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms for this moment. Second update will be a little bit late in the afternoon on my Patreon page, and in between the updates I will upload the headlines, short summary of the news that I will discuss on Patreon in that second update, and later on today about 9 o'clock evening time, 9 o'clock Moscow time in evening, I will have a live stream on my Rumble channel with Telegram Reports program. That's when it comes to schedule for a day. And well, that's been said, let's talk about news now. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. According to reports from Russian media, Russian military channels and the defense ministry, there was no crucial changes on any of the sectors of the front line. Operational pause mainly is holding, with a few exceptions, of course, because we have quite a number of hotspots. First of all, Avdiivka, of course, on Donetsk sector of the front line, and there's some reports are coming in that are contradicting each other when it comes to situation on Avdiivka. According to some reports, Russian forces did manage to cut this main supply and support line that goes from northern industrial area towards southeastern part of the city. But according to other reports, Russian forces are close enough, but not yet under direct fire control of this road. Right now, clashes are taking place. Main clashes are taking place in the northern part of the city, but this area here, so-called bus, it's not a bus station, it's just depot, where this different type of transport is based. A fight is going on for this area, as I understand, according to military channels, and Russian forces also quite actively pushing in the direction of northern industrial zone and the chemical plant. This was reported, for example, by Ribor, which is biggest military channel on biggest Russian military channel on Telegram. Whatever the case, situation for Ukrainian garrison of Avdiivka is becoming more and more desperate as time goes by, and I guess at this point it's only a matter of a couple of weeks, and eventually Ukrainian units will be forced to lay down arms and surrender, or to try and escape from this town through these fields. On open terrain, which definitely not gonna be most safe way to flee the city. But well, let's see. Time will tell. Some channels are reporting that due to upcoming presidential elections that will take place on 15th to 17th March, well, Moscow will order militaries to establish control over the Avdiivka before presidential elections. But I have to disagree with this opinion, because well, current president of Russian Federation has already huge support, at least 60 to 65%, and I don't think he needs any artificial boost in his support. Why? And it was quite clear from very beginning of the special military operation that Moscow, Kremlin formulated main goals of special military operation, and the rest of it is up to general staff. And general staff will act without political intervention in its strategies and battle tactics, and I don't think this will change anytime soon. Why? So I have to disagree with that opinion that Russian forces have to establish control over the Avdiivka before presidential election. They will take time and will try to conduct operations with minimal casualties, and well, most likely Avdiivka will be under Russian control before presidential elections, but not because of elections themselves, but because of the operational situation in Avdiivka, where Ukrainian units on the southeastern part of the city are almost cut off from supply and support line. So we all know what that means for a grouping of forces when they have no stable reinforcements and supply. Also, hotspot on Donetsk sector is, of course, Bakhmut, Chisovyar areas. Russian forces conducting offensive operations, local scale offensive operations on both sides of Bakhmut, both flanks. And recently I did notice that on Russian military channels there are new terminology that appear, and this new terminology says that offensive operations are taking place in vicinity of Chisovyar. So basically we can say that Russian forces now are conducting offensive operations in direction of Chisovyar, which most likely be the next hotspot on this sector of the front line. It's a matter of weeks, I guess, and maybe battles will begin inside the Chisovyar itself, which is already under heavy fire from Russian side, and Russian reckoning force operations are taking place in the vicinity of Chisovyar for weeks now. When it comes to northern sectors of the front line, in Krasny Liman sector, main hotspots are still Belogorovka on the northern eastern part of Seversk, Tarskoye, Yampolovka. No changes here. Russian forces continue to increase pressure on Ukrainian units, and it's just only a matter of time, and eventually Ukrainian units will be forced to retreat and try to establish some new defense lines. And when it comes to Kupiansk direction, unsurprisingly, Sinkovka once again in headlights. This settlement here, Russian forces entered this village second or third time at this point, and the northern eastern parts of the settlement is under Russian control, and simultaneously Russian forces are trying to flank this settlement through this forestry, and it's difficult but doable, while from the southern side flanking of Sinkovka gonna be extremely difficult because of this open terrain. But whatever the case, Russian forces once again increasing pressure on Ukrainian units in Sinkovka. And yesterday I did saw video on one of the channels when leaflets were dropped from Russian drone with calls to Ukrainian soldiers to lay down arms and surrender. I guess this is a last warning and last opportunity for Ukrainian units in this area to lay down arms and surrender before final stage of Russian offensive begins. And simultaneously Russian army is quite actively operating in this area. And for example, let me share with you this video. Here you can see Russian Mi-24 helicopter, attack helicopter, or Mi-35. Both helicopters are the same, just Mi-35 is a newer version, but they look similar, by the way. And Mi-35 is modernized, of course, and as you can see, this is Sinkovka area, by the way. Mi-24 is targeting, quite epic video, isn't it? Mi-24 is targeting positions of Ukrainian armed forces in Sinkovka area. So yeah, battle has begun, I will say, for Sinkovka once again, not the first time. And I guess Russian side learned some lessons after previous unsuccessful attempt to establish control over the Sinkovka, and this time Russian forces will operate with some different approach, more effective approach. And as I said, Ukrainian units received from Russian side last warning to lay down arms and surrender, and well, if they are clever enough, they will use this opportunity. Otherwise, well. And well, when it comes to southern sectors of the front line, no crucial changes. Main hotspots on South Donetsk sector is still Vremovsky salient, Uglidar direction, by the way, becoming active again, and of course Novomikhailovka and these fields in between Novomikhailovka and Uglidar, and Russian forces conducting offensive operations, successful offensive operations in direction of Georgievka also. And well, basically Russian forces are on offensive almost all along the front line, but we are talking about local scale offensive operations. Therefore, I will call overall situation operational pause, and I will continue to call this operational pause until we will see large scale Russian offensive operations, because that's what it is really. It's just local scale tactical operations, tactical skirmishes, but without decisive actions. And when it comes to decisive actions, I said many times before, once Ukrainian defense lines will begin to collapse, and once it will become clear for everybody that Ukrainian armed forces no longer able to resist and are collapsing, that's gonna be time when we will see large-scale Russian offensive operations, because at that time it will be possible, by conducting these large-scale offensive operations, to minimize casualties first of all, and of course minimize damage on the ground, because after all, once these territories will be liberated from neo-Nazi regime in Kiev, it's Russia that has to rebuild everything, and it's Russian taxpayers that have to pay for rebuilding everything. So of course it makes all the sense for Russian side to conduct operations in a way that will minimize damage on the ground. That's why they are using current line of contact mainly to demilitarize Ukrainian armed forces and to basically make sure that battle capabilities of Ukrainian forces that are still loyal to Zelensky and his associates will be minimized right now on current line of contact, without pushing, without transferring this line of contact of heavy intense clashes towards new areas, new settlements, new villages and cities, so that those areas will be safe from destruction. I hope I did explain what I mean. RT's report, by the way. Oh, before I continue, dear friends, let me remind you, if I may, that this small media project of mine exists solely thanks to support of members of our community. And if you find this project, these channels and programs that I have interesting, useful, ones that have some potential and deserve to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work and this media project with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see all the links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. That's been said, let's continue with additional news and RT's report here with yet another call for Western societies to get ready for a war with Russia. It's crazy, by the way, what is happening in the West, what Western ruling elites are doing, really. And this time it's German general that is trying to scare society in Germany and in collective West. Let's go through some sentences here. So Germany should beef up its military to prepare for a potential conflict with Russia in 5 years. In 5 years' time, Bundeswehr General Carsten Breuer has argued. He called for a change in mentality within German society, insisting that the nation needs to build credible deterrence. In an interview with the Welt am Sonntag, published on Sunday, Breuer warned that Germany does not have endless time to become war-capable, claiming that the possibility of the military confrontation with Moscow is at its highest since the end of the Cold War. Well, yet another provocateur in ranks of Western military, in ranks of Western so-called elites, a provocateur that is puppet basically of the real rulers of the West, true rulers of the West, and acting under orders to further push this scaremongering tactic over the Western society, And unfortunately, this will continue. We are almost on daily basis now have this type of statements, isn't it? From different generals, from different NATO member states, from different politicians, that war is coming, everyone should get ready for a war. And unfortunately, no one is challenging these people, man. No one in MSM, in mainstream media in the West, challenging these people. And unfortunately, this will continue. And at some point, I guess vast majority of the Western society will be scared to death with so-called war that is supposed to came, but will never do it, because Russian side is quite clear, isn't it, that Moscow has no intention to conduct any attack on any NATO member states, because it does not make any sense, because it really does not. But we all know why this scare tactic have been used, have been deployed by Western ruling class, isn't it? It's much easier to manipulate with scared people, with scared society, and it's much easier to use taxpayers' money in any way they wish, without being challenged. When people are scared, and they will approve just about anything in attempt to protect themselves and boost their security, even no one is threatening them, especially Russia, because Russia does not threat NATO. And if Russia is not provoked, I don't see any scenario at all that Russia is attacking any of NATO member states. RT's report, by the way, that Macron, president of France, scraps Ukraine visit due to some security issues. That's interesting. French President Emmanuel Macron has postponed his planned visit to Ukraine due to security concerns. The French magazine Challenges reported on Sunday. According to the report, the trip was scheduled for February 13-14th. Macron was expected to visit Odessa, Ukraine's top Black Sea port, and later arrived in Kiev. The magazine said the French government has not commented on the reports on this report. Exact dates of foreign leaders' trip to Ukraine are typically not revealed in advance, which is true, by the way. Usually these high-ranking officials just arrived in Ukraine without announcement, and I guess secret services of those NATO member states are providing information to Russian side about those visits to make sure that they're not going to come under fire. There was many instances when media reported about exchange of information between Russian and NATO member states during those visits, and I don't see any reason why Macron's visit should be different. What security threats? Maybe Macron and his security is afraid that Kiev regime may provoke something. Maybe that's the case, that Kiev regime may provoke something against them, against Macron, and then somehow provoke further escalation between Russia and NATO member states. That's a possibility, by the way, and Western high-ranking officials should think better, should think better before they visit Ukraine, because situation for Zelensky's regime is desperate. They can sign up for any provocation. Zelensky and his associates can sign up for any provocation. They may conduct strike on foreign delegations and to blame Russia, and then provoke further escalation, maybe even military, between Russia and NATO. So I see this information as a at least partial indicator that maybe French security services are afraid that Macron and his delegation may come under fire of Ukrainian side, not the Russian side. I don't know, but if they have some information about this, then I guess if not Macron, some other delegation from the West will probably end up being targeted by Kyiv regime. And they will blame Russia, of course, but I don't think anybody gonna believe them. But same time, we all remember how First World War began, isn't it? And if Kyiv regime will conduct some provocation and kills high-ranking officials of the Western states, well, even if it will be clear for everybody that that was Kyiv regime, Western ruling class or Western so-called elites may definitely use this as a reason to further escalate with Russia, maybe even militarily. Who knows? Who knows what those crazy people have in mind? Those so-called elites of the West. RIA Novosti's report, by the way, now few news about Middle East, and RIA Novosti's report that Egypt stated that they may I have to translate this because this is very important, by the way. So Egypt has threatened to suspend the Camp David Accords with Israel if it sends troops to Rafah in the Gaza Strip. This is southern Gaza Strip. The Association Press reports, citing Egyptian officials, the threat to suspend the Camp David Accords came after Prime Minister of Israel Benjamin Netanyahu said sending troops to Rafah was necessary to win their war against Hamas, the message says. And by the way, Egypt is not the only country that is expressing protest because of the Israeli army's activity in the southern Gaza now. And this morning I did share information that as a result of strikes in Rafah during the night time, over 100 people, over 100 Palestinians were killed and more than 230 wounded. And well, it seems like Netanyahu's government is not stopping there. They are escalating now towards southern Gaza, and well, situation is closing into the point that I was talking about from very beginning of this escalation. Massive exodus of Palestinians from Gaza Strip towards Egypt, implementation of the so-called Karabakh scenario. I was using this terminology, Karabakh scenario, while talking about Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and I'm afraid situation now is on the verge when it will become obvious for everybody that real intentions of Netanyahu and his government is to force out Palestinians from Gaza Strip. And that's why they are beginning military operations in the Gaza Strip. And where are people gonna go from southern Gaza? There is only one way: Egypt. Yes, some countries may send some flotillas to receive refugees by sea, but well, majority, if Israel will allow, of course, those vessels to enter waters of Strip, but Gaza Strip, but well, most likely Egypt will be forced to open borders and receive all 2 million Palestinians from Gaza Strip, or majority of them at least. And I did a report yesterday in headlines. I did mention about it, or maybe even in the first update, I can't remember now, that Saudi Arabia expressed concerns about Israelis' activization of in direction of southern Gaza. United Arab Emirates express their position, their negative position about it, and all the other regional countries, and not just regional countries, by the way. For example, United Kingdom even issued some warnings that well, it may not well end well for Netanyahu's government if they will push further south with the military operation in the Gaza Strip. Germany also warns Israel against catastrophe in the making. And of course, in this case, Foreign Minister of Germany, Annalena Baerbock, was talking about southern Gaza and escalation there. But yet again, I don't think Netanyahu's government will listen to any of these warnings. I mean, they are emboldened. They basically conducted ethnic cleansing already in the northern Gaza. And what? Without any consequences for Netanyahu or his government, isn't it? They already committed crime against humanity by conducting ethnic cleansing in the northern Gaza. And, they are emboldened with this impunity, and they will definitely, most likely, unfortunately, continue push further south. Who's gonna stop them? It seems like world community is just unable to do much, really. Or not even exists. I mean, we are all talking about world community. Where is this world community, man? We have UN, isn't it? Formally, United Nations, that's supposed to be, mediator in crisis situations and decision maker when it's necessary. But I mean, UN is probably, I don't know, man. I don't know. US means nothing at this point, really. And this crisis in the Middle East may become a last nail in the coffin of UN. That's how bad situation for UN is, really. This organization is total failure, man. But anyway, and not just that organization, all of them, all those so-called international organizations, they are total crap. RIA Novosti's report here that the head of Pentagon once again have been hospitalized, Lloyd Austin, and his deputy is in charge now, Kathleen Hicks. Well, at least this time they did not hide. They didn't hide that Austin is hospitalized, and public was informed, and I guess White House was informed, and all the procedures were kept as it's supposed to be. And well, now Kathleen Hicks is officially head of Pentagon for the time being, and that may be the first time, if I'm not mistaken, when female is in charge of Pentagon. Maybe that's the case, which is interesting, by the way. TASS News Agency's report, Times, according to British Times, despite the hopes of UK's government and UK's militaries that second aircraft carrier, HMS Prince of Wales, will be able to participate in NATO exercises that are taking place right now, after first aircraft carrier, flagship of UK's Navy, HMS Queen Elizabeth, was broken down, basically, was unable to leave the base. Well, we are learning now that this HMS Prince Wales is also are not ready to participate in these NATO exercises. I did mention this yesterday, isn't it? And well, we don't really have much specifics here, but HMS Prince of Wales is not moving towards Norway as it should, and maybe will not be able to participate in these exercises after all. And I remind you, these ships are brand new, by the way. These both aircraft carriers are brand new, just a few years in service, and they are constantly experiencing some difficulties. And by the way, I remember Western media, including British media, was laughing at the Russian aircraft carrier Admiral Kuznetsov, which is Soviet-era aircraft carrier, by the way. Not brand new, but Soviet-era aircraft carrier. And look at the situation now. Who is laughing now? Two brand new aircraft carriers that cost billions and billions of taxpayers' money are unable to participate in even in a simple Navy exercises. Who is laughing now, though? Unbelievable. RIA Novosti's report that Prime Minister of Armenia made some interesting, one may say, statements. First of all, he said that it's up to Putin to decide will he visit Russia, Armenia, after Yerevan signed up for this Rim Statute, and basically become under jurisdiction of ICC, the so-called International Criminal Court. And same time, Pashinyan did spoke about some aspirations of Armenia to join NATO, and he said, I did share this information on Telegram also, that Armenia has not discussed and is not discussing the question of joining NATO. The cooperation program being developed between the sides, but this does not imply membership in the alliance. Okay. At least for now, Pashinyan is not openly saying that his bosses in the West demanding or pushing Armenia towards EU and NATO. He cannot say this openly because Armenia is still member of Organization of Collective Security that was created by Russia and a number of other former Soviet republics, including Armenia. And until Armenia leaves this organization, it's going to be, I mean, clownish if they will say that now, you know, we have to enter NATO. I mean, then remove yourself from this organization, this defense alliance with Russia, and then began making statements about NATO after that. But we all know what is happening. We all know. I don't think Pashinyan will change his policies, or he even is able to change his policies. After all, he is a asset of, he is a product of Soros funds, and therefore, most likely, it's only a matter of time. And at some point, Yerevan will demand from Russian bases to be withdrawn from Armenia, and situation between two countries will escalate even further. It's already quite difficult. I would not say hostile, but unfortunately relationships between Moscow and Yerevan is bad, and will deteriorate further. And if it was up to me, really, I mean, if it was up to me, I will remove Russian bases already. I would not wait before Yerevan will begin acting provocatively and will begin demanding withdrawal of Russian forces. I will do it myself. You know, it's inevitable anyway, so why spend money and time by maintaining that base in Armenia? Let's remove it from there, and that is that. But anyway, let's see, man. I'm quite sure Armenia will never join EU and never join NATO, but that was the case for Ukraine also, and that was the case for Georgia also. But this objective reality did not stop so-called elites in Ukraine and in Georgia to push this crazy narrative that we're gonna join NATO, we're gonna join EU. Man, be serious, man. What EU, what NATO? Are you... And with Armenia will happen the same. Georgia now has more or less adequate government. At least under previous prime minister, Georgian leadership was acting okay and securing Georgian citizens as much as possible without provoking Russia by this crazy calls for, you know, NATO and so on. But well, Ukrainian leadership, Ukrainian elites undoubtedly sacrificed their country for interests of the Western so-called elites and the globalists and so on. And Armenia in that direction also, under current leadership. I mean, things may change. Armenian society may remove current leadership and give power to some other people, more adequate people, more realistic people. That's possibility, but let's see. Artists report here that China is betting on the next generation chip production despite the US CARB, according to Financial Times. I did mention this news yesterday during the headlines, if I remember correctly, but I will share with you some additional news because cheap stuff, cheap manufacturing is a big deal, of course, especially now in this era of ever increasing influence of IT technologies on lives of ordinary people. And well, Chinese chip makers expect to make next generation smartphone processors as early as this year, despite the US attempts to hinder the Asian nation's technological advancement. The Financial Times reports this week. According to report, citing people familiar with the matter, China's top chip maker SMIC has put together new semiconductor production lines in Shanghai to mass produce chips designed by Huawei. SMIC plans to use its existing stock of US and Dutch-made equipment to produce 5-nanometer chips, the sources said. With the new 5-nanometer node, Huawei is well on track to upgrade its new flagship handset and data center chips. One of the sources told the Financial Times in September 2023, the sanctions hit Chinese tech giant started successfully selling its Mate 60 Pro smartphone that uses high-end 7-nanometer chips. Faced with the mounting restrictions, the Chinese government has been investing heavily to develop a self-reliant semiconductor supply chain. The administration of US President Joe Biden introduced a sweeping set of export control in 2022 aimed to slowing China's technological advance, claiming national security concerns. Among the measures was a ban on sales to China a certain semiconductor chips made anywhere in the world with the US equipment, and block on shipments of chips for supercomputing systems and artificial intelligence. Well, I mean, who would doubt that China will manage to overcome these restrictions from the US, man? China is doing immense work, immensely successful work when it comes to industrial espionage. They are very good at it. You may like it or not, but they are very good at it, and therefore they are able to build whatever they need on their own. They are learning. They are constantly learning, and that's a result. They have some 5-nanometer chips that probably are no any less than Taiwanese chips, or maybe even better, because this is new generation of chips. I'm not a big expert on this stuff, but well, I have no doubts that, and if you take in account all the data that you have about China in open sources, I mean, it's just technically impossible to stop technological development of China. At this point, it's just not possible. So I think it will be best investments for US if they will invest in improving relationships with China, first of all, and it will be better if US will invest in its own, I don't know, an education system, maybe, in its own economy, to be competitive or to stay competitive with China. But restrictions, they're not gonna work, man. This these so-called elites in the West, they don't really understand that they are no longer force, decisive force in this world. And it's if some 30 years ago they can easily manipulate with almost every country in this world and decide which country will go which way, things change. And now they cannot do this. They may want and dream about restricting China's technological development, but it's a different times. They cannot do it. They just cannot. RT's report, German industry, well, while China is pushing forward with new technologies and so on, Germany is losing its industry, by the way. And well, Bild is reporting that German industry is moving abroad. I did report about this many times, that the industrialization of Germany is gaining more momentum, and it's 100% true. And well, Bild is also reporting about it, that 1 in 3 German manufacturers is considering moving production to other countries, saying economic troubles. Double the number recorded in 2022. Bild news outlet reported on Saturday, citing Siegfried Roswurm, the head of the Federation of German Industries. According to report, among the latest firms planning to relocate is a household appliance manufacturer Miele, which plans to cut 2,000 jobs in Germany and move 700 positions to its site in Poland. Heating manufacturer Wisman had already moved 3,000 jobs to Poland. Volkswagen said last year that it would build a new battery factory in the US, and BAF announced plans to invest 10 billion in the petrochemical plants in China, aiming job cuts at its headquarters in Germany. So yes, I mean, it's factual. It's factual. Germany is losing big time this economical struggle to stay competitive on the world market, and Germany is losing industries, man. It's true. And mainly, I mean, you guessed why this is happening. Of course, because Germany lost cheap source of energy from Russia. And why they lost it? Because of the crazy policies of leadership of Germany. It's so simple, huh? These guys, man, these guys are enemies of Germany, man. Scholz, Baerbock, and the rest of the company, man. They are enemies of Germany. What they did to this country, man, unbelievable. And continuing to do so, you know. They are continuing to damage Germany on every single day, on daily basis. You know. Let's continue. RIA Novosti's report that according to Russian Foreign Ministry, I did mention this news yesterday also in headlines. According to Russian Foreign Ministry, despite there are statements from the Western states that they are almost free of imports from Russia, any imports, especially energy, in reality things are quite different. And in 9 months of the last year, for example, Russian supply of LNG, liquefied natural gas, to France increased 40%, by the way. 40%. And France right now is one of the main buyers of Russian LNG in Europe, among European countries. France, Belgium is big in buying Russian liquefied natural gas. Spain is big on this. Spain is buying great volume of Russian LNG. But if you ask them, well, and they're gonna say, no, I mean, we are free now. We are free, you know, from Russian gas, man. What the craziness, man. RIA Novosti. And you know what is surprising? Where is the backlash, man? Why people are not coming out on the streets, in especially in Germany, by the way? and are demanding from the government some changes to be made, because people, I find it difficult to believe that society in Germany, I mean, majority, of course, they are informed part of society that perfectly well understands what is going on, and they are trying their best to inform their fellow citizens so that they will have enough power then to influence something. But still, man, I find it difficult to believe that majority of society in Germany don't really realize is that because of these crazy policies of their government, country is losing economy, country is losing industry. Everything is becoming expensive, for God's sake. And I mean, okay, you can blame on Russia everything you want, I mean, all day long. Okay, but if you want, it's not gonna get better, isn't it? No matter how much you're gonna blame Russia, things on the ground not gonna get any better by this. So why people are not demanding from governments to change some policies until it's too late? I don't know, man. I really don't understand this. I mean, are they suicidal or what's going on? Are they understand that once they will lose industry, they will begin losing other sectors of the economy? Hundreds of thousands of millions of people will become unemployed, and this will eventually destroy social fabric in the country, and stability of the country will be under threat. It's a chain, isn't it? It's all are interconnected, and why people are so passive, man, I don't know. But anyway, Renovosti report that, well, according to sources of Renovosti, in Turkish banking system, Ankara and Turkish banks, by the way, Turkish government and Turkish banks are working now on ways to join Russian alternative to the SWIFT. They are discussing this topic, and most likely Turkey will become next country which will join Russian alternative to the SWIFT, which is gonna be a great move from Turkey, of course, because if they will continue to be dependent on SWIFT for all the transactions between the banks, well, they're gonna lose eventually Russian clients. And well, when we are talking about Russian clients, we are talking about billions, man, because Turkish and Russian businesses, they are, you know, cooperating quite actively, and they are doing business for billions and billions on every single year. So this is good news, by the way, good news for Turkey if they will make decision to join Russian alternative to the SWIFT, and SWIFT being, by the way, of course, this data transaction system between the banks. All the transactions you make goes through the SWIFT, if your country is part of the SWIFT. Here in Russia, we are not connected to SWIFT. We don't care about this, but majority of the world are totally dependent on SWIFT. And Turkey now, with exceptions, by the way, because the Russian alternative has already 20 countries in it, and well, if Turkey will join, of course, this will boost furthermore this Russian project, and eventually more countries will follow, and it will be much easier to do business. That's it's all it is. That's what is all about. Just to make business, you know, a little easier, without being dependent on this Western banking system, Western financial system that has been used as a weapon by Western ruling class whenever they want and against anybody they want. And this is it for now. Well, I was hoping to make update under 30 minutes, but still it's not, at least not 2 hours video. Hopefully you will find this update interesting, useful, informative, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, just about anything. More likes and comments will definitely help to deal with the algorithm and reach a wider audience. It will be a great help for a project. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my channels or videos with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. And if you think this channel is useful, interesting, informative, has some potential and deserves to exist, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links on this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day and take care.